You love football, the roar of the crowd, the crunch of collisions, the bone-rattling hits that echo in your chest. That's a part of why millions tune in every Sunday. The NFL wants you to believe it's changed. New helmets, new rules, spotters on the sidelines, safety first. And on paper, that's true. Concussions are down. Safer gear is mandatory. Practices are more controlled. The league touts these improvements as proof football can survive and thrive without destroying the bodies and brains of its players. But here's the thing. No piece of plastic, no rulebook, no concussion spotter can rewrite physics. And they certainly can't erase decades of denial, damage, and cover-ups. This video argues that yes, the NFL has made progress, but that progress doesn't erase the fact that football remains inherently dangerous, especially over the long haul. The league's history and unfixable nature of collision make safe football a myth. So buckle up, we're going deep. Let's be fair. Some of these reforms adopted by the NFL are real, and for some players they matter. Since 2002, the league has passed 50 plus safety-related changes. Everything from banning helmet-to-helmet contact, outlawing blindside blocks, to revamping kickoff and punt rules to reduce high-speed collisions. Helmet design has significantly improved. According to research by helmet testing labs and engineers, newer helmets reduce both linear and rotational forces compared to older helmet models, decreasing the risk of concussion or at least reducing impact severity. In 2024, the league announced that concussions dropped to a historic low, 17% down compared to the prior season, according to both games and practices. Preseason 2024, the concussion count was the lowest since the league began systematically tracking in 2015. The use of guardian caps during practices, especially in the preseason, have been linked to nearly 50% reduction in concussions and for mandated positions. All of this shows is that the league is no longer ignoring safety. On many fronts, rules, gear, medical protocol, they've tried to create an environment where football doesn't automatically mean head trauma. If you're a fan, that's reassuring. If you're a player or someone who cares about the long-term health of players, you might feel a little safer than used to. But, and this is the big but, none of these changes alter one fundamental fact. Football is about collisions. Controlled? Maybe. Safe? Not really. Let's talk physics. Let's talk biology. Because helmets, rules, and spotters don't change one basic reality. When two athletes, 220, 240, 300 pounds, collide at full speed, the brain inside the skull doesn't see helmets. It jostles, it rotates, it slams against bone. Here's what recent research suggests. A peer-reviewed study analyzing concussion data from 2017 to 18 through 2021 to 2022 found that after the introduction of stricter targeting rules and rule changes, there was indeed a 38% decrease in overall concussions versus earlier years. But the same study found that concussions did not disappear, and players across all positions continue to suffer head trauma. What's more, even subconcussive hits, those smaller impacts that don't cause immediate noticeable concussions may cumulatively cause long-term neurological damage. Some scientists argue that repeated minor head impacts can over time contribute to degenerative diseases such as CTE or long-term cognitive decline. In other words, even if a player never suffers a major diagnosed concussion, even if they follow every safety protocol, they are still accumulating potential damage simply by playing the game. No helmet, no matter how high rated, can stop that. No rule can force the brain to stop bouncing. And medical spotters, as well as intention, they only catch obvious hits, not the invisible wear and tear over the years of play. That's the brutal paradox of football. You can reduce the obvious danger, but you can't eliminate the hidden danger. Now, to make sense of today's safer football, we need to confront yesterday, because what's happening now didn't come from a sudden epiphany. It came from pressure, from lawsuits, from public outrage, from undeniable evidence. For decades, the NFL downplayed and denied the risk. Committees said concussions were minor, temporary, nothing to worry about. League-funded studies claimed there was no proof of long-term brain damage. The status quo was simple: tough it out, keep playing, don't ask too many questions. When scientists started publishing records linking repeated head trauma to cognitive impairment and brain disorders, the league fought back. For a long time, the official message was to not proven, not our fault. Then came lawsuits, investigative journalism, and stories from former players. Families of deceased players diagnosed posthumously with CTE came forward. Reports revealed internal league memos acknowledging risk, memos that never made it to the public. Public pressure forced the NFL's hand. Slowly over the years, the narrative changed. Helmet standards, rules, concussion protocols, guardian caps, spotters, transparency. But history matters, because for decades, the league prioritized profit and spectacle over truth. And once you choose profit over people, even the best reforms can feel reactive, not preventative. So while today's improvements are real, they're also a product of decades of denial, not the absence of danger. Even with everything the league has done and is doing, there are deep structural issues and cultural patterns that continue to determine real safety. Yes, there are independent neurologists and concussion spotters, but team doctors are still employed by franchises. That creates pressure from coaches, from management, from contracts. Did he really see these signs, or is he cleared because the team needs him on the field? The incentive doesn't always lean toward caution. Football doesn't just celebrate hard hits, it demands them. From youth leagues to colleges to pros, players are taught to be tough, to shake it off and keep going. An investigation into the NFL culture found that many players feel internal and external pressure to hide or downplay injuries, especially in critical games. Short weeks, Thursday night games, relentless pace. All of it puts wear and tear on bodies and brains. Reduced rest magnifies injury risk, and repeated hits without proper recovery accelerate damage. narrative around concussion protocol.
7-4.
The brain can be damaged slowly without ever getting.
Really jump out.
Yeah, you got this.
If we only treat concussions, we ignore a huge portion of this. So as long as the structure of professional football demands collisions, plays weekly, uses big bodies running fast, these problems won't go away because they're baked into the sport. Now, you might be thinking, but wait a second, if helmets are better, concussions are down, and the league is committed to safety, maybe the critics are overreacting. Maybe football is safer now. Maybe it's just different danger. And true, some of that is valid. The data shows a real drop in diagnosed concussions. Players are better compensated than ever before with medical benefits, access to top-tier care, and advances in rehabilitation. The speed of the game has changed. The violent collisions of past decades are less frequent thanks to targeting rules, tackling reforms, and better officiating. For many players, football might feel safer. For many fans, the game still feels like the same gladiator spectacle, only cleaner, faster, and shinier. Yet, here's why that view doesn't satisfy me, and maybe should never satisfy us entirely. Consent and risk, but asymmetry of information. Players may consent to risk, but they're really give informed consent when the long-term effects are uncertain, hidden, or downplayed by the very institutions responsible for their safety. A helmet doesn't come with a guarantee. A concussion is obvious. An MRI, visible brain change or delayed memory loss is not so much. The fact that concussion numbers drop doesn't mean brain trauma disappears, especially when many impacts go unreported. Just because things got better doesn't mean they're good. Relative improvements might make fans feel better, but the baseline, a 30% reduction in risk from this dangerously high baseline may still leave you with an unacceptable risk. So yes, I get the optimism. I even admire it, but I remain deeply skeptical that we've resolved what needs resolving. Football changed. The NFL changed. Players changed. Safety improved. That is real and worth acknowledging. But safer does not mean safe. The hits may come less hard. The helmets may be better. But the collisions, the speed, the force, the brain itself, they remain exactly what they always were. Vulnerable. If we care about those who play the game, not just this season, but for decades to come, we need more than rules, more than helmets, more than spotters. The things we need are an honest, long-term studies of brain health, independent of league pressure, support from former players, medical, financial, psychological, rethinking how the sport approaches contact, both at pro and youth levels, transparency, accountability, and a shift in culture from toughness to longevity. Because at the end of the day, the game is a choice. But once you choose it, you deserve to know what you signed up for.